Today we are starting chapter 6 in our book. We're almost finished. So I wonder what these flowers have to do with today. Today, Gooney Bird said on Wednesday, I'm going to tell you about Catman and the Cow. Maybe you've noticed I'm wearing my cat and cow outfit today? The students nodded their heads. They had noticed. Gooney Bird was wearing an orange fur jacket. Over her shoulder was slung a purse made from brown and white cowhide. Sometimes storytellers have special outfits they wear. I think that's fine as long as it doesn't interfere with the story, Gooney Bird continued. You can buy fake cat whiskers and ears, for example, but I would never wear such a distracting costume. Would you wear a tail? Beanie asked. I know somebody who had a cat tail and ears at Halloween. Put on your thinking caps, class, Gooney Bird said. Think back to when I talked about Catman last week. What was it that Catman didn't have? No tail, the entire class said, all except Felicia Ann. See Gooney Bird in her outfit. That is quite the outfit, isn't it? I kind of like that jacket. I wish I had an orange jacket like that. She has bows in her hair. I love her purse. I think she looks very nice today. I like that. So everyone called out except Felicia Ann, although Felicia Ann did look up from the floor. What if we're going to hear from Felicia Ann? That's right. Catman has no tail. I would tell about the lawnmower accident, and it would be an absolutely true story, but I never use violence in my stories. Oh, good, Kiko said. Violence makes me cry. Gooney Bird smoothed her fur jacket and did her breathing exercises. Deep breath in, let it out. Deep breath in, let it out. So a lot of you have been worried about Catman. I certainly have, Miss Pigeon said. I've been thinking about Catman ever since he flew out of that flying carpet. By the way, Miss Pigeon, Gooney Bird said, I do want to mention how lovely you look today. Miss Pigeon blushed a little. She was still wearing her high-heeled shoes with buckles, and today she was also wearing a rhinestone butterfly perched in her hair. In fact, the whole class looks quite lovely, Gooney Bird pointed out. She looked around. Malcolm, would you stand up? Malcolm rose from his seat and held his shoulders back. He was still wearing his polka dot bow tie, but today he had on a plaid belt. Kiko, Gooney Bird said. Kiko giggled and stood up. She had a bright green bow in her hair and a long, shiny silk scarf wrapped around her neck. Me, called Chelsea. Can I stand up? She did, and the class could see she was wearing a fringe cowboy vest over her best dress. Me, everyone called, but Felicia Ann. They were all calling out now, but Gooney Bird said, Later, after the story. I'm ready to begin now. She took one more deep breath and let it out and began. Beloved Catman is consumed by a cow. Once upon a time, not long ago, after they had left China, Gooney Bird and Catman found themselves flying through the air on a carpet. The carpet landed in a meadow near a large brown and white cow who was contentedly eating wildflowers. So there's where our flowers are from the picture from the beginning of the chapter. The flowers were purple loosestrife. The carpet unrolled, and Gooney Bird stood up and looked around. She could see in the distance her father's car quickly disappearing down the road. Beside her, Catman also stood up. He became very furry and fat, the way cats do when they're frightened. My cat becomes very enlarged when my brother brings his dog to visit, Mrs. Pigeon said, then put her hand over her mouth. I'm sorry, Gooney Bird, I interrupted. That's all right, Gooney Bird replied. Maybe this is a good time for everyone to tell cat getting big suddenly stories. Many children did. Barry Tuckerman's grandmother's cat became huge, and its tail stood straight out in the air when a groundhog appeared in the yard. Chelsea's cat became enormously fluffy and hissed and spat when the veterinarian gave her a shot. Tricia told how her cat got very, very fat and then one day had 7 kittens inside the laundry basket. Good, so you all understand about cats. Now I'll continue, Gooney announced. The cow, who had purple blossoms dangling from her mouth, looked very surprised when a person, a cat, and a carpet all landed in her meadow. She thought about what to do and decided that moving to a different corner of their meadow would be the best choice. Carefully moving slowly in a cow-like fashion, she strolled away toward a corner where yellow cosmos and ox-eye daisies were in bloom. Gooneybird's attention was on the car, which had now disappeared around a bend in the road. She was a little worried about the disappearance of the car. The Catman didn't care about the car. Catman had never liked the car at all. In fact, Catman hated the car, and he was glad that it had disappeared. But he was very interested in the cow. Catman had never seen a cow before. He had watched with fascination as the cow moved slowly toward the other corner of the meadow. He liked the way the cow walked, heavily and with determination. He liked how the cow smelled, of thick, sun-warmed cowhide and meadow flowers. And he scampered along behind the cow, and the cow noticed and mooed. Catman liked the way the cow sounded. It was comforting, the low, throaty sound of a moo, and in the background was the buzzing of flies. Catman began to purr. In the distance he could hear Gooney calling, "Catman! Catman!" But he didn't care. He found himself falling in love with the cow. "I like romance," Beanie said. "Me too," Kiko said with a sigh. Gooney waited a moment, but no one else said anything, so she continued her story. In the evening the farmer, Mr. Henry Shinofin, came to the window and called the cow. It was time to take her into the barn to be milked. The cow liked the farmer, who was soft spoken and kind, and she liked the barn, which was airy and dark and smelled of hay, and she liked being milked, which felt like a little like sneezing, something that needs to be done now and then. So she cheerfully followed the farmer when he called her. Catman cheerfully followed the cow. Mrs. Clara Shinofin, the farmer's wife, was feeding the chickens when her husband walked past leading the cow. "My word," she said. "Look, there's a cow with no tail following the cow." "Huh, so there is," said her husband. "Perhaps he's hungry. We should feed him." They tried to take Catman into the house to be fed, but he refused to leave the cow. So they brought him a bowl of tuna fish and gave it to him in the barn. When Mr. Shinofin milked the cow, he squirted some into a dish for Catman. That night Catman, who was by now completely and hopelessly in love, curled up beside the cow and slept. He has slept there ever since. During the day he goes to the meadow with the cow, and while the cow eats wildflowers, Catman chases field mice and butterflies, listens to the buzzings of flies, and smells the warm and pleasant odor of cowhide. Gooney paused. "Questions?" she said. Kiko raised her hand. "I'm waiting for the bad part," she said. I was going to cover my ears." "What bad part?" asked Gooney. There we see the cow. Venus flowers. Look, there's Catman right there. In love with the cow. "You know," Kiko whispered, "where the cow ate Catman?" Gooney looked surprised. "The cow didn't eat Catman? The cow hardly notices that Catman's there. The cow eats wildflowers?" "But you said," Kiko began. "Yes, you said," Malcolm called out. Mrs. Pigeon stood up. "Remember the title of the story, children," she said. They all tried. How a cow ate Catman? Barry Tuckerman called out. How Catman got eaten up by a cow? Tricia said. Mrs. Pigeon shook her head. She peeked at her notebook. I wrote it down, she told them. Beloved Catman is consumed by a cow. Let me finish, Gooney Bird suggested. She went on. The end of the story. That night, the farmer's wife turned on the TV and saw the interview with the little girl who rode a flying carpet. If anybody finds my cat, the little girl said, it was Gooney Bird. Please call the TV station. So Mr. Shinofin, the farmer, called. I have that cat there in my barn, he said. Orange and white cat, no tail. But I gotta tell you, I don't think you'll be able to take it away. It won't leave my cow. Won't leave your cow? The TV lady said. She sounded puzzled. Nope, said the farmer. Wouldn't even leave for tuna fish. We had to take the tuna fish and put it right beside the cow. Why? Happens sometimes, the farmer explained. I guess you call it something like love. Cat is downright consumed by the cow. And the cow is consumed by the cat? The TV lady asked. Nope. The cow doesn't care one way or other. But she doesn't step on the cat. She's a careful cow. The TV people called Gooney Bird and her parents. They told them where Catman was and that Catman was consumed by a cow. So the Greene family drove their car back to the meadow and visited Catman. Catman was nice to them, but they could tell he was not consumed by the Greene family. He was consumed only by the cow. So they kissed him goodbye. They hugged and kissed the farmer and his wife, and they all sang Farmer in the Dale and danced in a circle on their tiptoes. They all lived happily ever after. The end. Oh, I love happy endings, Kiko said with a sigh. Me too, Mrs. Pigeon said. Thank you, Gooney Bird. Let's get out our arithmetic books now. Ugh, everyone in the class groaned. I know, Mrs. Pigeon said, laughing. It's more fun to listen to Gooney Bird's stories, but we can look forward to tomorrow. She'll have another one tomorrow. Gooney Bird got back to her desk and had taken out her arithmetic book. She looked up in surprise. No, actually, I won't, she said. That was my last story. The second graders, almost every one of them, called out, No! In very loud voices. It sounded like a huge chorus singing a song. No! Mrs. Pigeon looked horrified. But, Gooney Bird, she said, we still have a lot of unanswered questions. Like what? Asked Gooney Bird. Well, let me think, Mrs. Pigeon frowned. False teeth! Nicholas called. Mrs. Pigeon said, Why did your father have to pack 43 sets of false teeth? That's a story that you haven't told yet. Gooney Bird looked surprised. That's not a story, she said. That simply requires a dictionary. You have one right there on your desk, Miss Pigeon. Miss Pigeon reached for her dictionary. Look up this word, Gooney Bird said. She pronounced the word very carefully. Prosthodontist. Prosthodontist. My goodness, Mrs. Pigeon read the definition. It's a special kind of dentist. He makes false teeth. Exactly, Gooney Bird said. That's what my father is. No story there. But we want more stories, Gooney Bird, Barry Tuckerman said in a loud voice. As usual, he was standing up with one knee on his desk chair. Gooney Bird sighed impatiently. I need to do my arithmetic. I'm not very good at subtraction yet, but all right, sit down, Barry. Close the dictionary, Miss Pigeon. I will tell you how to get more stories. She's going to explain how to get more stories, and it looks like we have some cucumbers. Maybe that's a lemon or an orange here, some kind of citrus fruit. Maybe grapefruit or a lime. What do you think that's going to have to do with our last chapter here? We don't know. I'll have to come back and see.